attack on the same castle positions. Before we start with this topic, first I want you to look at the screen. I'm going to share my chess-based application. Okay, here we go. You should see the position. Please also type pluses or some other symbols if you see the position and you can hear me. Also, guys, I can enable microphones. Okay, so now, now you all are allowed to say, yes, hi, Yashu. Okay, so please look at this position. This position is from our previous webinar about the weakness of complex of squares. What do you think what white should do in this position and how to win immediately?
Queen h6.
Queen h6, there was something wrong with queen h6. Yes, actually. Okay, Max, what do you think? After queen h6, what black can do? There is a way to save the position after this move.
Ah, yes, there's knight f5, I believe.
F5, yes, and your queen is hanging, and if you take with your bishop, black can capture this bishop on f6 with his queen, and then it's equal. So it's not queen h6. But the idea is quite similar. So yes, you should checkmate on g7, but to do it, you should stop knight coming to f4.
Rook to e6. Rook takes e6.
Rook takes e6, then f takes e6, and what then?
Bishop takes g6.
But bishop takes g6, black can play knight g6, attacking the queen.
There's potential g4 first.
Okay, almost g4. Okay, Vadim, do you have any ideas?
It was to take on e6, he takes, and then play queen h6.
No, it's almost the same, knight f5. So, okay.
And then I take with my bishop.
Then you take with your bishop, but then the queen takes on f6.
And I got the bit. Oh no! I thought I had
You're down the exchange.
Yeah, I thought I had two bishops for. No, don't save my bishop.
Okay, I see. Okay, guys, Maxim is very close. He suggested a g4 move with the pawn to stop f5. Actually, this move doesn't really help. No, let's say g4, then black does some stupid move like a5, then queen h6, but still knight f5. It's not a checkmate, but if so, then white can gain a piece by taking on a6. Oh, that makes sense. However, instead of f5, I can, for example, play c4. And then this line won't work. Knight f5, g takes, queen takes f6. If pawn takes bishop, then the c pawn takes d3, and it's equal. The winning move in this position is rook e5, and after rook e5, this strategy works. what to do. If bishop f5, then just queen h6 immediately. It's obvious. If some strange moves like, I don't know, let's just c4, then queen h6. And if now knight f5, then we take on f5 with a rook, at the same time protecting this bishop f6. So that was the idea of knight a5, rook e5 move. If h5 in this position, how would you continue?
You take with the rook.
Queen g5.
You take on h5 and g takes on h5.
Then you take with
And
the queen.
knight 6. You want to take on h5 with the queen? I think you can play a better move. So queen takes on. Maybe it works as well, but knight. Here. Okay. So in this position, it's better to give a check with our queen, threatening a checkmate on g7. And here, if knight g6, then we can just capture. I think it's better. Or we can capture the queen, actually. Okay, fine. So we are done with it. Let's start with our today's topic.
Was there a checkmate in that position?
No, if black plays properly, there is no checkmate. You just win the material.
Okay.
Okay, guys, before we start, I want to inquire about the conditions where we should start the attack on the same side where our king is located. So before we take the decision to attack the enemy king on the king side, and our king is located on the king side too, what should we take into account?
Developing our pieces?
No, of course, yes, but that's not the main factor.
Playing in the center?
So yeah, it's something about the center, but what exactly?
Activity to minor pieces and rooks.
Can you repeat it, please, about minor
Activity
pieces
of
and rooks?
minor pieces and rooks.
Oh, no. Okay, so guys, you are quite close. So the first is that you should be sure that you have a material advantage on that side, so that when you start the attack, you will have more pieces, and they can also protect your king in case if you create some weaknesses for your king on that side. So you should have the material advantage on that side, not on the board, but on that side. For example, almost all of your pieces should be looking at that side. But that's not the main factor. There is another factor that you should take into account. It's about the center. Any ideas?
Pawn break?
Even in a close
Counterattacks in the centers.
Okay, so right, the center should be maybe closed, or what is more important, the center should be stable. And yes, Yashu is right here. There shouldn't be no possibility for your opponent to initiate a counterplay in the center. So this is what I mean by saying the center should be stable. Okay, now you see the board?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start. We are going to analyze the game between Vasily Smyslov and Joseph Rudakovsky. This is quite old game, but this is a good example of when to start the attack and what the center should be. Okay, e4, c5, knight f3, e6, d4, c takes d4, knight d4. Oh, actually, guys, what opening it can be? I mean,
Taimano.
what? What?
Taimano variation. Is it?
Yes, it can be. If knight c6, it's Taimanov variation, and if a6, it's Kan variation, right?
And it could also be Paulson variation.
Oh, Paulson. Okay, so actually, what's the difference? So it's already Paulson variation. If knight c6, it's Taimanov variation, and if a6 is played, it's Kan variation. But generally, when we see e6, we say it's Paulson variation.
Okay.
Knight c6 and a6 are just two directions of Paulson variation. Okay, however, knight f6 can be played in this position. Can we play e5?
Yes, maybe.
No, actually, no. Why e5 doesn't work here? Who knows what black can do?
Check.
Check on a5.
Yeah, exactly. Check on e5, and then queen takes on e5. Okay, so knight c3. And it's played in this game. This is a different variation. Nowadays, it's not popular, but at that time, it was maybe one of the main moves and one of the main variations at the top level. Usually, we meet the position with a6, but then actually e5 can be played here. So looks like knight c6 should be played first. Anyway, let's make a few moves like this. Queen d2. Do you know how black can play here?
Bishop b7 castle potentially.
Bishop to
Oh,
bishop pins the knight.
yes, but there is a better move. When there is no pawn on d6, it's not recommended for white to play queen d2 and castle queenside.
There's bishop b4.
Yes, it's bishop b4. And now we're threatening to take on e4. Okay, bishop to protect the pawn d5. If pawn takes, then knight takes to pile up the pressure. But what if f3 instead of taken? What if f3? How to proceed?
Well, you could mess up the pawn structure a lot for white. If you take the knight.
You mean to take on c3? No.
That isn't like if you want to mess up the pawn structure a lot. He takes the pawn, then you can take on e4.
I see. You can, yeah. So bishop c3, then pawn takes on c3, then d captures on e4, f captures on e4. The position is playable, but that's not the best thing that black can do here. Okay, I see. Okay, Vadim, I enabled microphone for you again, so now you can say something. Now it should work. Just unmute your microphone and should be fine. Okay, instead of playing d takes on e4 or bishop takes on c3. Okay, actually in this position e5 should be played. e5 and then knight b3, d4, winning a piece for 2 pawns. Okay, Vadim, can you re-enter? Okay, let's go back. So instead, in the game, d6 was played. Okay, just one more thing. Yasho, I disabled I turned your microphone off because it's so much noise on the background. So if you want to suggest anything, please type in the chat. Okay. Yes. Okay, let's continue. So d6 was played, then d6 was played, then bishop e2 was played, bishop e7, castle, black also castle to that side, knight c6, f4, queen c7. Typically a6 b5 is a good idea in this position, queen e1, but instead of playing a6 and then b5 here, black decided to simplify the position. Instead, he took on d4, bishop d4, and then he played e5. What do you think if we take on e5 with our pawn? How do you evaluate this position?
Well, the rook on f1 becomes another big part of the attack for white. I think it's going to be good for them. However, they're left with their lonely pawn. And
yes, but there are some other factors that after this trade can stop our attack. And these factors are a counterplay in the center. For example, bishop c5, we have to trade maybe king h1 and bishop e6. Queen g3, just king h8 is enough here to save the position. Now rook f6 doesn't work, and I don't believe that white can succeed in this attack because black has a counterplay in the center. It's open. Let's go back. Yeah, actually, instead of bishop c5, just bishop e6, and here black is fine. I played a similar position. For example, king h8 in this position is enough to stop bishop h6. But when I played rook f d8, and when my opponent decided to attack the g7 pawn, I just played knight e8, and then he realized that he has to keep his queen on the g file to keep attacking on g7 because otherwise the bishop is hanging. And knight e8 is a helpful move actually. Then like f6, for example, or not f5 but f6. Then maybe bishop f8, and then activate my knight to another position. So these two moves are tempo losses because the center is open. Let's go back. it's not in white favor to trade on e5. That's why white just played bishop e3. Bishop e6. Of course, bishop e6 is not a good move. In this position, bishop d7 and bishop c6 makes more sense. Because after bishop goes to e6, f5. And now the question for you, where the bishop should move to? Oh, he has three options, d7, c4, and c8.
I think the bishop should go to d7, because if you go to c4, then white will trade the bishops, and he's giving, because black's light square bishop is a good bishop, and white's light square bishop is a bad bishop, because the center pawns are on the color of the white center pawns are on the same color as light square bishops, but your center pawns are on the opposite color of your light square bishop.
Okay, no, it makes some sense. So I mean, your words make some sense, but when you are looking, when you are trying to evaluate if bishop is good or bad, you should look at these bishop's options. Sometimes this bishop can be restricted by its own pawns, and sometimes by the enemy pawns. As for the bishop on e6, I think it's the same. I mean, the bishop on e2 and bishop e6 are approximately equal. And even if you locate your bishop from d7 to c6, and this bishop is on e2, I would say that they are still approximately equal, and the bishop on c6 doesn't really have many perspectives. However, the more important is that on c6 he does another thing. On c6 he controls the d5 square. So in the game it was played bishop c4 and then bishop c4, queen c4. Black lost the control over d5 square. So it would be better for him to play bishop d7, then bishop moves to e6 to control d5 square. Because it's not easy to get this bishop taking the d5 square. So, okay, so instead in the game it was a trade on c4, bishop c4, queen c4. What do you think white should do in this position, and try to come up with a plan?
I think white should trade the dark square bishop for the knight, because then he'll be able to take over the d5 square.
So you suggest to go after the knight with bishop g5?
Yes.
That's right. So bishop to g5, rook f e8, then bishop f6, and then knight d5 was played. But what in case of queen c2?
You could play rook c1 and then knight goes to c7 with the fork on the two rooks.
Yes, Max, I see. But after you play rook c1, blunder this pawn and maybe the other pawn. So it should be 3 pawns for the exchange. I think it's too much.
But I think could this if I go, but I think this knight is worth more than just the rook. Than the exchange, this knight is worth more. That's what I'd say.
Okay, so what do you suggest after queen c2?
I actually think I looked over this game before, because I remember this exact
really?
position.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, so maybe you remember what should happen after queen takes on c2.
Well, I remember I don't. There's this move. Just can't remember which one.
Okay.
I think
Okay, try to think.
I go queen to g6.
Yes.
I'm to g3.
G3, you mean? Queen to g3. Okay, I see. I would play maybe king to h8.
There's also a possibility to play first rook f3 and then g3 with the rook.
Okay, guys, I see what you suggest, but there is nothing concrete in that attack. Queen c2, rook f2 should be played. Why? With the idea to save these 2 pawns and still threaten to give a4 and knight c7 immediately. If queen goes to c5, then rook c1, and then knight c7. That's much better. If queen c4 here, then even b3 can be played first. And then
But I
rook
think
c1 and knight c7.
I wouldn't play knight c7. I think I would to keep the knight over the exchange. Because this knight is very, very strong.
Well, it's after you trade your knight for a rook, you have a clear plan how to win this position.
Better endgame too.
So I would do this, and yeah, the computer would agree with me. Okay, let's go back. So knight d5, bishop d8 was played. So he covered this square. Okay, what was then? Bishop d8, then c3, b5, b3, queen c5 check, king h1, rook c8. So black played some bad moves actually. That looks like a tempo losses. And now rook with the idea to get the rook to the 3rd rank. How to play for black now? How to prepare his defense? Oh, okay. What ideas do you have? If you were playing for black this position, how would you play to prevent any attack on the king side?
I'd probably play something like king h8 first.
Well, king h8, that was played in the game, but that was a mistake. Instead, f6 should be played.
But doesn't that
Why
close
f6?
your dark square bishop?
Yes, but that's not the main problem for black in this position. His main problem is his king weakness and these 2 pawns. By playing f6, he can of his rooks or maybe his queen on the 7th rank to protect on g7. That is much more important. As for this bishop, it can come to b6. It doesn't have any perspectives on the king side. So, for example, rook h3, a5, queen h4, h6, queen g4, now threatening to take the pawn on h6, but then just king h8, rook f1, then queen a7. Of course, white is much better and he can continue the attack, but at least it's easier for black to defend his position. Instead, in the game, it was played king h8. And what do you think white played?
There are f6 ideas.
Yes, definitely. How to react for black? Does g6 work?
No, it created a weakness on g7, I believe.
Yes. So, for example, if so, then queen h4 or queen c1 is better, I think. Queen c1, then I don't know, queen h6, and after g8 we can just sacrifice the queen and deliver a checkmate on h3. So g6 doesn't work. That's why g takes on f6 was played in the game. Then queen h4. Black replied with rook g8. How to continue the attack? Rook h3. Okay, is your microphone. Let me double check it. Okay, Vadim, now it should work. Rook h3.
Okay, I can hear now. I mean, like, I can talk right now.
If rook h3, what then?
And then,
I don't really see how white can continue the attack.
I think I know. I think you take the pawn first with the knight before playing rook h3, and take the pawn first. Then if he plays, for example, rook g7, you play rook g. You play rook g3. If he takes the knight, you take with the queen check.
Yes, you're right in this position. That's true. Actually, it leads to a similar position. And if you play rook h3 first instead of taking, you allow him to play rook g7, and this is how he wins the temper. You have to take on f6 anyway, and then to play rook g3. So it's much better to take on f6 immediately, threatening a checkmate. Rook g7, rook g3 now. He can't take because of a checkmate on g7. Here. Okay, what are your threats? For example, let's play this move. How would you play as white in this position? Try to find the best move.
You could take the pawn to queen and then deliver checkmate.
All right. Okay. So here, bishop f6 was played in the game, queen f6, the rook is pinned. This is the only way to protect. White is better, and actually white is much better. How to continue the attack now in this exact position?
I'd probably try to bring my other rook into the game. Rook f1, rook f5.
Okay, if you play rook f1, I'll play queen c6 probably, attacking here. Rook f5, I would just take and threatening a checkmate. Okay, try once again.
I think I would be. I think I would I would exchange my rook, and
And?
then he would take with his rook, and then I play. Yeah, or actually no. Instead of taking, I'd probably play rook to d1 instead of taking of the rook d1.
Rook d1, that's right, because you're threatening rook d6 and then rook d8. So d5, and after rook takes on g7, black resigned, for example. Rook g7, then rook takes on d5, and it's over. He loses the queen or gets a checkmate. Okay, so here the game finished. Let's go to
Yeah, I remember. I
this position.
looked at that game.
Okay.
That
So
exactly.
let's go. I'm sure you didn't watch the second game that we are going to analyze today. Okay. Anyway, so what can you say about? No. Okay, let me say, because it's too obvious, but let's just repeat it. Here, the center is stable. The position, I can't call that this position a closed position, but no, it's semi-closed. As for the center, it's stable and black has no counterplay. This is the main thing. And what tools did we use to start the attack? We get our rook to f3, the queen, and what is more important, after a few mistakes played by black, we played f6, the move that divides the board into two parts. And all black pieces are on the left part, and our rook, queen, and knight can join the right side where the enemy king is located. Actually, f6 should be played much earlier. For example, after bishop d8, here f6 is a good move, and this is what I recommend white to play. However, the computer thinks it's not the strongest move. The computer suggests king h1 first and then c3 and do this plan. However, f6 is the third strongest move in this position. But as a human, I would prefer playing this move first, because it's clear that after this move, black has to defend the position. Okay, so remember the stable center and this maneuver with the rook to the third rank. This is very common for the same side attack on the enemy king. When he is castle to the same side as your king. Okay, fine. Let's analyze another game. Just wait a second. I will upload it.
I had to reload again before while we were looking, because while we were looking at the game, I had to reload again because it just lagged me out. Everything just stopped and started loading. So it's reloaded.
Really? Maybe it's the problem with internet.
Well, last time this didn't happen.
It's probably the internet then.
This time, this platform where Max, what about your internet?
Well, it's
Everything
fine.
works?
It works. It's just a bit lagging. Like your voice comes first, and then the moves come.
I see.
me sometimes as well. But I don't think it's as much of a problem as if it logs you out or lags you out, I should say.
Yeah, but I think we should change the platform. For example, I couldn't start the webinar in time because of some problems with the software. I can't log into the platform to start the webinar for some reason, and it took me 10 minutes to do it. Okay, here we go. This is the game between Mikhail Tal and Miguel Najdorf. E4, c5, knight f3, d6. So Miguel Najdorf decided to play his own line that is called after his name. Knight f6 and knight c3. And usually people play knight formation, play a6. And for example, if white plays f4, what's the most typical move for black in this position? Who knows?
Well, usually they just continue with e6 to restrict the bishop.
This exact position, black continues with e6 because it's too risky to play e5 while the bishop is on this diagonal. So, for example, e5. Okay, and after bishop e3, how it plays?
Bro,
They could play e5.
Okay. Here, black plays d5, then knight b3. So if you play knight formation, you should know line. Okay, another trick question. If knight b3 immediately, how would you play?
I would probably play like e6.
Maybe
e6.
e6.
So e6 or g6, right? No, if e6, you should be ready for g4, carries attack. If you play g6, you have to play dragon with a6 move. So that's a different position. E5 can be played as well, but then it's bishop g5, and I'm sure here white is slightly better. But of course, white has to know how to play. Now let's go back to the game analysis. So here, e6 was played immediately instead of a6, bishop e3, and a6 now, and f4. Actually, if I were playing this position for white, I would choose another strategy with f3, queen d2, then probably g4, with the idea to castle queen side.
Like the main line of Najdorf.
Okay, anyway, f4 was and queen f3. What is the typical strategy for white after they play in f3 for such positions?
Castle queenside.
No, castle queenside, right? And then
start a pawn push on the king side.
Yeah, g4, g5, right. I played a similar position against two players. Against a grandmaster from Bulgaria. His name is Nikolov. I got a better position, but then I ran out of time at move number 40. So that was the last move that I should do to get 15 minutes extra. But for some reason, I spent too much time on the last move and just ran out of time. Okay. So b5, queen f3, bishop b7, and how to play for white now? Okay, any suggestions?
Team left. I think he lagged out.
I see. What do you think? How to continue?
G4.
G4. Okay, let's play G4. I think it's a mistake. And this, okay, yes, it's a mistake because of B4 and you just blunder on E4.
Oh.
Moreover, I can say if you play H3 in this position, then B4 works as well. Even knight E4 might be played. Oh, actually, no, knight E4 is a mistake. Yeah, so here B4, and then he takes on E4 with his bishop knight. So bishop D3 to protect on E4. Knight B7, castle. Bishop A7. So you see here white decided to castle to the same side, to the king side, but many of other players would choose castle long. Bishop A7, A3 to stop b5 move, and to get the queen to H3. So because on the previous move we couldn't play queen H3 because then B4 and the pawn on E4 would be hanging. In this position, after A3, it should be fine. So castle, then queen H3, threatening a checkmate on H7. Of course, it's not an immediate checkmate. It's just a potential attack on H7. So queen C7, rook A to E1, and knight C5. And here the question for you. Does E5 work for white now?
E5?
Yeah, what if white plays E5 now?
The pawn? Doesn't black win the pawn just taking?
Yes, but maybe you can find some counterplay with bishop's direct discovered attack, like here the rook. Or maybe another idea is to open the f file and after queen f5 to take on f6 with our f1 rook and then deliver a checkmate on h7.
I guess.
So what do you think? Let's try to calculate this move accurately and decide whether it works or not.
I think it works.
Okay, e5, d takes, f takes on e5, queen takes. And if rook f6, then if you were black, how would you play?
I thought of maybe after d5 he takes, I take, and then he goes knight to d knight knight to e4. Knight to f to e4 for black before.
In this position, knight f to e4.
Yes.
I see, but knight d4, knight e4. Then which knight or bishop?
The knight.
Knight takes on e4. What can
Because
I
it's
do? Maybe
centralized.
just bishop f4, bishop e4, and it's pinned. Looks like you lose a piece.
I guess I have to take with the bishop.
Okay, if you take with the bishop, then I can play like this, then queen g4, and then bishop h6, I win the exchange. Well, if you retreat, I play bishop h6 and win the exchange.
Yeah.
Actually, it's even simpler. After queen e5 and rook f6, just knight d3, and there is no mating threat on h7 anymore. So e5 doesn't work. That's why white played bishop f2 first. Now d5. How to react on this move? Vadim, do you have any suggestions? Okay, so here e5 is a mistake. Why? Because knight f to e4 can be played, and then if we take, for example, then knight takes, and finally the pawn gets to e4, and it's not easy to take this pawn, while the bishop can now occupy the d5 square, and here white is stuck with his attack.
And he also has the bishop pair.
Right. So here the best move is e takes on d5, and then tell me, this is a key question now. First, knight takes d3, c takes on d3, and this is the question: which piece to take on d5? So for black, he can take with his bishop, his pawn, and his knight. What do you think? What's better for black?
Taking with the knight.
Okay. What if black takes with his knight? How would you play as white in this position?
I take with my bishop. Oh, I mean for white.
What?
I thought you said how to play as black if white takes the knight. Okay. I thought a different thing.
Okay, no, the question is how would you play in this position after this move played by black?
Rook to e5.
What's the idea of rook e5?
To bring you on the king side.
To h5? What if I just play h6?
Then I take the pawn, probably.
On h6?
Yes, with my rook.
So you want to suggest this. And after h6, you want to sacrifice your rook on h6. And then take with your queen.
Well, I think he got. I think he has. No, he doesn't.
What?
I thought he had bishop.
Then I just play rook d8.
F6.
Rook d8, bishop f8. It's almost the same thing.
Okay.
So no, it's a bad move. It doesn't work. You sacrifice too much material. The center is open. Actually, I don't know why, but in this position you should notice such tactical strikes. It's knight e6, f takes e6, and then queen e6, rook f7, but then we just win a piece back. You see? So here white plays with two extra pawns. So knight d5 is a mistake. If e takes on d5, then the bishop is restricted and the knight from d4 goes to f5. White is better. That's why the only option for black is to capture with his bishop. Then knight d5, pawn takes, knight comes to f5, attacking e7 and g7. Then bishop c5. Here d4, bishop has to go to a7. Okay. How would you play? What can you say about the bishops and what's the next move? What do you think about this bishop?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would play a rook to. I would play rook to e7.
E7. E7, queen c8, for example. Or I can take on f4 actually.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's it's risky. Okay, let me just play queen c4. Okay, I think it's a kind of a mistake. No, not a mistake, inaccuracy to play rook e7. In this position, we should get our bishop to attack on f6. Oh, we are threatening to take on f6, then queen g4, queen g7. What if now black plays queen b6? How to react for white?
Rook f3.
So what do you think? How to continue?
Rook f3.
Rook f3 looks too slow, but maybe queen g3 I think is better, threatening to give checkmate on g7. So knight h5, queen f3. Double attack on d5, h5 simultaneously. Yes, g6, then knight e7 check. Okay, king h1, and finally we can play knight c6 here. The idea is that Actually, if he plays queen b2 in this position, we just play rook e2. And he has no squares on this diagonal. And if he captures our rook here, then we first play rook f6, bishop f6, king g8, and then knight e7. It's almost a checkmate, and he has to sacrifice his queen and take on e7. Then bishop takes on e7. It's a winning position. Okay. So here we win because of knight e7 check. Let's go back. After bishop h4 in the game, it was played knight to e4. How to play for white in this position? Okay, in the game, it was played rook to e4, d takes on e4, and finally, bishop f6. And if g takes, it's obvious that here we checkmate with our queen g4, queen g7. How to play? G6 is a mistake in this position. If g6, then just knight h6 is a checkmate. That's why queen b6 can be played. Queen b6. Then bishop g7, rook f to e8, with the idea to play queen g6 in case of queen g4. Bishop e5 and queen g6 now. What do you think? How to continue for white in this position? Okay, in this position, we should give a check that happened in the game. King f8 and f5. After this move, why did he resign? So, for example, if queen g5, then we may. Okay, what should we do?
Before I tried to say something, but I forgot to turn on the microphone.
What do you think about this position? What should we do? How to succeed in this attack?
Play f6.
And then?
And then the bishop to e6.
f4?
And d6. Bishop to d6.
d6. Okay, if we play this move, then I think he would sacrifice his rook on e5. And it's not a sacrifice. We can't take. Pinned. So f6 might be a mistake. Okay, queen g5, it's knight f7. This is a win move. The bishop on e5 is no longer hanging. Moreover, the queen is under attack. So king takes queen h7. The only square is f8, but then bishop d6. Again, the only defense is rook e7. And then f6. However, then bishop d4 can be played. King h1. And after bishop f6, what should we do?
We should take the rook with the bishop.
Yeah, bishop e7, for example. And then here, this is a winning position.
Or we could even actually
With a
take.
checkmate and king d7.
I thought we could even take
With
with
our
the
queen?
and then take the bishop with the rook.
Take the bishop with what?
Actually not with the rook,
No,
with the
with
queen, yes. Because with the rook, I
yes,
hang
and with the
checkmate.
queen. Yes, and if we take the queen, we just trade the queens. But in this line where we take on e7 with our bishop, we get more material. So threatening to deliver a checkmate on e7, and then we play queen g8, checkmating or winning his rook. Okay, fine. Let's go back. And let's try to sum it up. So, okay, wait. I want this position where d4 is played. The position is open, but the center is stable and there is no counterplay for black. And again, our attack was successful because we have the material advantage on the king side. All of our pieces are looking at this side. So this bishop can go to h4. This knight on f5 already participates the attack. Our queen, the strongest piece in our position, is also on the king side. Our f rook didn't play, and we used finally our e rook when we decided to sacrifice this rook for this knight. Here we played, so all our pieces participated in this attack, while these two, the bishop on e7 and his rook, couldn't join the king side and help his own king. However, the queen also wasn't so helpful for black because this queen later became the object of the attack after we played f5, so in this position. Okay, this is all that I wanted to tell you on this webinar, and I don't give you any homework for this webinar. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them now.
So next webinar will be same time next week?
Yeah, same time next Sunday.
Okay.
I'll let you know, and please register for the webinar before. However, maybe I'll change the platform. I'm not sure because I didn't really like how Click Meetings worked today. So anyway, I'll let you know by email or Skype.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you for attention. Now we finish.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.